Okay, let's move on to Mississippi State. So their win total set at 6.5. 7-6 a year ago, 4-4 in conference. F plus had them as number 41 in the country, number 27 on offense, number 32 on defense. Projected to be number 15 in the country this year, which is a sizable step up. Number 28 on offense, number 17 on defense. Mike Leach entering his third season. And it's been talked about a lot that people always say Mike Leach in his third year at places like that's when it really kicks in, the air raid. And that was true at Texas Tech. It was his third year. At Washington State, it was his fourth year. Whatever, that be that as it may, it feels like that actually could make sense for Mississippi State this year. They bring back Will Rogers, their quarterback, who put up huge numbers. Is not actually hugely talented, if I'm allowed to say that. Like I feel like to some extent he's a product of the really excellent system. I feel like I don't know that that's the system you want necessarily if you're trying to win a national title. If you're Mississippi State, it's kind of perfect for what you're trying to accomplish, in my opinion.
Fair.
They return both of their running backs, which they actually do use on occasion. No huge stars at receiver, but they are deep. They lost their top receiver from a year ago, but there's still so many other names there. It's a little bit similar to, I mentioned it for Ole Miss. It feels like the scheme is almost receiver independent. It almost doesn't matter that much who your receivers are. They scheme their way to yardage. They lost a lot on their offensive line, but I feel like it matters less for Mississippi State with the air raid because it's drop back pass immediately. It's take the snap, pass, take the snap, hit the window. They don't need to be awesome, in other words, on the offensive line. And I think they'll probably still be okay, if not decent or good. On the defense, that's really where the story is because we're not used to Mike Leach having great defenses, but they really are. They're loaded.
They were good.
Yeah, they're loaded on the defensive line. They're loaded at linebacker. Their secondary is a bit of a concern. They do have some guys that they believe in. So what are some of the projection systems seeing? Because they're projected to be number 15 in the country, but their win total is 6.5. It feels like those don't make sense in comparison to each other. Who's right here? Is it Vegas or is it the computers?
Vegas is seldom wrong. I think Vegas. There's a lot of respect for Mississippi State out there. I think they return, I believe, is it like 18 starters? Just an absurd number from last year. A ton of returning talent. They're not returning Mekhi Polk, the best receiver that you mentioned. That sucks. But no, I agree with you. They're almost receiver independent. Is that the words you used? Like it's just kind of copy paste almost for some of those receivers in that system. But getting back to where what Vegas how Vegas values them, I think is more on the schedule. And I think it is, do you believe that Mike Leach can go simply out coach an Arkansas team? Or can he go and is he going to be able to coach around the talent deficit between them and Texas A&M? And there's a talent deficit when they play Auburn. Auburn's more talented than them. They have Georgia in the crossover game and Kentucky. That they have a tough schedule too. None of these schedules. I think we say that with every team. It's just like it's a tough schedule. But they're going to have to out coach teams. Like they're not going to have more talent than people, and they are going to have a good defense, and they're going to be much better than their record says. I think that's probably where Vegas is coming from. Like this is going to be a really good 6-6 team. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned the schedule. I actually think their non-conference is pretty easy. You have Memphis. Who knows what they'll be? They've been good in the past. They haven't been great recently. And you go to Arizona, who I think will be vastly improved, but still a clear step below Mississippi State.
Right.
And then, your other games in the non-con are Bowling Green and East Tennessee State. We have seen teams lose to East Tennessee State before. I don't think Mississippi State will this year. So that to me feels like 4 wins you can pencil in.
Sure.
And then you need 3. You need 3 in the SEC. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exactly sure which 3 it is, but I believe in this team just enough. The third year effect for Mike Leach, the strong defense. I don't see a ton of huge holes on this team. I feel like they're consistently good to okay at every position group. I'm going to go over slightly. I don't love that some of their swing games, LSU, Kentucky, and Ole Miss, are on the road.
Sure.
Yeah, that to me is tough. But this is more just this is just a bit of a I'm stepping out in faith here because I think that they will have the quality of an 8 or 9 win team. So I'm going to have faith that they can win 7 even against a tough schedule. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Yeah, no, of course. The Leach experience is entertaining. It's quite interesting to watch. I think he fits so badly in the SEC. Like he's just so the opposite of all the rest of these coaches, but it does work. Like he's probably one of those, like he's a bean counter. Like he is absolutely just trying to desperately to find any kind of advantage to use. He's just, yeah, he's looking at obscure stats. That's what Mike Leach does.
And posting memes on Twitter.
He does that. He's a great follow on Twitter, no doubt. He always has a really good quarterback, and I think Rodgers he's going to have a really good statistical year. I do think that. And you're right. They will end the year as pretty much the same as the rest of the SEC West. Better than their schedule would tell you that they are. I think they're going to be. They could be the 15, a top 15 team, if I can say that right. But 6-6, 7-5 is probably where that gets them if you're
Sure.
top 15. So yeah, no, I understand completely. We're almost at the same place. I'm just under the line. You're just over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think the tough games. I don't think they get LSU at LSU. I think LSU wins that one. That's kind of a toss-up game that would go the other way. Yeah, Georgia, you get Georgia at home, which is kind of like just losing a home game. That kind of sucks. Like you would rather go to Georgia and just like, because that's going to be an L either way, and then maybe have like,
Right.
Kentucky at home. Maybe that's a little easier for you. So yeah, they have just some difficult games. They did lose to Memphis last year, I believe. And hopefully
Yes,
that
they
doesn't
did.
happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, no, we're almost at the same place. You're really, it's a little unfair. We can say that it's a little unfair to return as many starters as Mississippi State does, but still have to play in this division. Just kind of sucks.
Yeah. By the way, they lost to Memphis 1 week after beating NC State last year.
True.
So
True.
there's no
Yeah.
way that makes sense. I could try to predict which games they'll win and which games they'll lose, but I most likely were completely wrong.